Hello, my lovely anatomists and physiologists. Michele Glass here, and welcome back. We're still talking about cutaneous membrane, and this time we're talking about skin pigmentation. So there are three sources of skin pigmentation. We have our dermal blood supply. So the color, the pigmentation of the blood is coming from the molecule called hemoglobin. So dermal blood supply. Think about it. If you're maybe embarrassed or nervous, you might blush, right? And there's more blood flowing into your face and you have thinner skin in your face. And so this is going to give more of a reddish tone, which can be more or less visible depending on the other pigmentation of your skin, right? If you're really hot, you typically get more of a flushed color to the skin, which is again the blood flowing to the dermis in order to dissipate some of that heat. And again, that reddish tone may be more or less detectable based on other pigmentations of your skin, right? So that's what we're talking about here. You can see this too in the reverse. So if blood is focused more on the internal organs, then we might see like a bluish tinge or an ashen look depending on other pigmentation in your skin. We get also the pigment carotene. Now this is coming from your diet. This is the orange pigment that's found in carrots and pumpkins and those types of squashes, right? And so here, this doesn't usually contribute a lot to skin pigmentation, but it can. So if you've been maybe drinking a lot of carrot juice or eating a whole lot of pumpkin pie, right? You can actually start to see some of an orangey color accumulating in your integumentary system coming from this pigment here. And then the last one is melanin. And so melanin actually can come in two forms. We have eumelanin, which is the more black-brown pigmentation. And then we have pheomelanin, which is more of a reddish colored melanin. Now, with all of these, we see that we can have a environmental component, right? So we're going to see environment plays a role. Environment plays a role. Hemoglobin, again, that could be whether you're hot or cold, right? Carotene, that's your diet, right? Melanin, we'll see you get an increase of production of melanin when exposed to UV radiation, which is of course sunlight. So melanin production can be altered depending on your environment. And then we'll see, of course, that there is a genetic component to this as well. So of course, you know, your maximum amount of melanin production or your kind of baseline melanin production does have a genetic component. Now remember, we can draw for ourselves our sort of dermal papillae, so our finger-like projections of our dermis. And then we can draw for ourselves our stratum basale layer here at the bottom of the epidermis, bottom of the epidermis, but actually sitting on top, right, of the dermis. And then let's draw in this stratum basale layer our melanocyte. And remember, it looks sort of like a hand. It's got these sort of finger-like extensions. And then it's got these vesicles full of that melanin that get distributed up into our other layers of our epidermis. And we call these vesicles full of melanin melanosomes. And of course, we call this cell that's producing melanin a melanocyte. Now, we are producing melanin in order to protect against UV radiation. And what we also see happening is the melanin helps to prevent the breakdown of folic acid, which is an important V vitamin that's important for our health. So the melanocyte is making these melanosomes, these packaged melanin, which go up through the layers of the epidermis, and the purpose of the melanin is to help protect against ultraviolet radiation and also prevent the breakdown of folic acid. And remember, there's a genetic component and an environmental component. So you may be exposed to sunlight, and about 10 days later, you can start to see the darkening of the skin. So it's taken a time for the melanocyte to be stimulated and increase the melanin production. So it's not immediate production of melanin as soon as you're exposed to the sun. So this is why all skin types can have sunburn. Sunburn does increase your risk of DNA mutations as a result of ultraviolet radiation, which equals skin cancer. So it is important for all skin types, no matter how much or how little melanin you're producing, to protect your skin from UV radiation by wearing sunscreen, seeking shade, and covering up with sun protective clothing. Now, as we look at this melanin as having these protective functions, we also see that an increase in melanin can actually reduce vitamin D3 production. And so we are looking for a balance in our melanin protection to protect against UV radiation and prevent folic acid breakdown, but also not such a production that we're not able to get vitamin D3 produced, which is an important function of integumentary system. We'll talk more about that in the future. As always, take care of yourselves and each other.